Hey Neppers, it's me, Wild Neptune. Today, bringing you the news. I'm sure you all already know that the mini set for Whizbang's workshop is coming. Dr. Boom's Incredible Inventions. What does Dr. Boom have for us this time? Let's find out. So let's see what Dr. Boom has to say. Dr. Boom's been tinkering away in the basement of Whizbang's workshop, working on his own line of toys to prove that he's the greatest toy maker and inventor in Azeroth. My first question here is, why is Whizbang allowing Dr. Boom to work in his basement? Like, if he's like a rival competitor, shouldn't he make him use his own, laboratory that he has? Or maybe we blew it up. I don't remember. Anyway, he's come up with something huge, gigantic even, and he's ready to share it with the world. Prepare to have your mind blown. These are Dr. Boom's incredible inventions. Okay, so like most mini sets, 38 new cards, 4 legendaries, an epic, 17 rare, 16 commons. You can buy them with gold or money. So $15 USD or 2,000 gold for the regular versions, or $70 or 10,000 gold for the golden versions. And you also get a diamond version if you whale out or just have way too much gold to spend on a mini set. Anyway, let's see what some of the first cards are going to be and how good I think you're also going to be. Alright, the first card, Puppet Master Dorian, Legendary, 4 cost, 2/6. After you draw a minion, get a 1/1 copy of it that costs 1 mana. So basically, it makes any minion you draw a miniaturized. Obviously, a very strong effect. Anytime you can cheat out so much mana, that's very, very dangerous. Especially since you probably want to use this with very, very good battle cries and very good death valve type minions that will get you even a bigger benefit on the board or later into the game. Like imagine doing this, drawing your Boom Boss with this card, and then you play a 1-mana Boom Boss, and then your normal Boom Boss, and you shuffle 12 TNTs into the opponent's deck. They're not having fun if they were having fun in the first place since they're playing Warrior. Yeah, that seems pretty disgusting. Or the 1-mana cards with like Sonya from Rogue. That sounds exciting, doesn't it? This card I think has potential to be very dangerous. That being said, there are RNG involved here. You have to draw the minion. Now, keep in mind that I do believe that when you discover from your deck, it does count as drawing the minion or the card, because in every single other case where discovering from the deck would affect things that mean draw, it always counts as that. So if you can say, I don't know, use like tracking, right, in Hunter, and you track out a minion with this on your field, I do believe you get the copy of that minion that is miniaturized, which can be a more consistent way to get something that you want. Of course, Discover does have some more inherent RNG in it, but it is definitely a way to get a minion guaranteed that you can use, and I'm sure that there are many more examples of this in the game in Standard right now. Now, of course, 4 mana, do nothing, basically. I guess it does have Makeshift Taunt, because nobody's going to leave this on the board alive for 1 turn if they can help it. Again, just very, very dangerous to have. I do think a lot of people will put this into their deck just for the scam potential and then take it out, because I don't think you can just jam it into any single deck. You have to have one that can utilize it correctly. One thing to note too, I see some examples of comparing to, say, the old Geppetto, which was an 8 mana battle cry. Draw 2 minions from your deck. They cost 1 and have 1/1 stats. That one you could tutor out minions by only having a select few in your deck, but that was 8 mana. This is cheaper, but you have to do more work to get a minion into the hand most of the time, and most of the time being cheaper but a little bit less consistent is usually better. So I would say this is a much better card than the old Geppetto, which really never saw that much play, if I remember correctly. But yeah, this is a very dangerous card to have around. I do think a deck using this will pop up eventually. Not sure how quickly though. Cards like this can take a little bit of more tuning and stuff to actually get around to being a top tier threat, but people will definitely complain about being scammed out by its effect on the first like hour or so. Believe me about that. Oh, also, in Wild, I'm not sure how good this is in Wild. 4 mana doing nothing without setup is really bad in Wild. We'll have to see. I do think the mana sheet is strong enough if you can find ways to combo out with this, but I haven't labbed out those potentials yet. Also, as expected, we have a new keyword, and is Gigantify. Basically, what happens now, instead of getting a smaller version of a minion, we get a bigger one that costs 8 mana and is an 8/8. So you play a small minion, and you get a bigger minion in your hand for later. Now, this effect is very clearly worse in almost every single case than miniaturize, because there's a much more benefit of having a weaker standard minion that costs 1 mana to double up on an effect than it is to get a bigger minion for later that costs more mana that you actually have to use, unless, of course, the minion is severely undercosted somehow for the effect at 8 mana. And on top of that, the original version of the card has to be good enough to play on its own if you never ever even play the bigger version of the card. In addition to this doesn't happen in a lot of cases, but having this big minion in your card can potentially just mess up your hand, right? And you might have to like burn cards or use cards you don't want to because of hand size limit, depending on what kind of decks you're playing. That being said, there is a little bit of like a mind game thing here too, as it does give you a big minion in your hand to play around like Giant Rat. Not Giant Rat, Dirty Rat, I guess, right? I guess that's like a tech thing right now. All Gigantified minions are tech against Dirty Rat. But anyway, the first gigantic minion we have is a Druid card, Snuggly Teddy. So, the first version is a 3 mana, 2/4 Beast. Gigantify, Elusive, Lifesteal, Taunt. 3 good keywords on a Taunt minion. Very defensive. Actually, really good anti-aggro overall. Yeah, and the big version, 8/8/8, with the same stats. Now, if there was like a Beast Druid in the format that was played, I do think that this might see play in a deck. Unfortunately, right now, Beast Druid is not really a thing, in Standard at least, and in Wild, this is just way too slow. This won't see any play in Wild at all. But in Standard, a Beast Druid deck would actually have to come into fruition for this to see any play whatsoever, as Druid already has enough defensive capabilities to survive early turns for the most part. So I don't think this one really has that much benefit. And then we have 2 more cards with Overgrown Beanstalk and Torventus. Again, both Druid cards. Let's go over Beanstalk first. It's a 3 mana nature spell. Summon a 2/2 treant. Draw a card for each treant you control. So basically, you summon the treant and you draw at least 1 card because you summon that 1 treant. Of course, unless your board is full and you played it for some reason, and then you're probably an idiot. But anyway, right now, Treant Druid is not a thing in Standard because there's no Treant support. But if Treant support ever does happen, this card becomes pretty insane because whenever Treant support is in a format, you can summon a lot of them and you'll be able to draw quite a lot of cards. Now, does Druid need that much card draw? I don't know, right? But I do think that if there's support for this, this is really, really good. Right now there's not, so not see much play, at least until we see the rest of the mini set, and probably maybe even the next expansion too. In Wild, right now, Treant Druid is not really a thing. Is this card gonna make it a thing? I don't know, maybe. Then we have Torventus. So 6 mana, 7/7 Beast, Taunt, Elusive, with a battle cry, if you have 10 mana crystals, gain +7/+7, 6 mana, 14/14 with these stats here, is actually pretty good. There's not a lot of ways right now in the meta that people run that can remove this. Warriors will need 14 armor in order to get this off the field with their sanitize. Uh, Warlocks can do it with their AoE like fatigue combo, whatever thingy. And after that, it's actually kind of hard to get out. If this maybe had lifesteal too, or something like that, maybe like really insane. But I don't know, right? The problem is that it doesn't really do anything but be a taunt. It doesn't have any other effects that are on the board, right? It's not like I much rather play that 8 mana 6/6 taunt, the horse that summons, that elemental of the beast instead. And be happy with that, because that's getting me more minions from my deck and more potential stuff I can do on my next turn. This just kind of sits there. Yes, it might soak up damage and stuff like that, but most of the time I don't even know if you make it to 10 mana to play this in the first place if this is in your deck and in your hand kind of rotting away. In addition to that, again, like the other card, there is no current beast druid. And I do think that a beast type druid would have to come to the forefront of the meta for something like this to even consider being seen play. I do think that this is an okay card, but a little bit under the power level that's required to see play at the moment. We also have some priest cards that we reveal, so let's go with them pretty quickly here. Funhouse Mirror, 3 mana, shadow spell, summon a copy of an enemy minion, it attacks the original. So basically 3 mana, kind of removal if the minions kill each other. You can maybe even get a potential death rattle effect from the minion you summoned off of this, which is pretty nice. Or maybe another effect too, like let's say you copied a lifesteal Ziliax, you kill the other Ziliax, and you also get some lifesteal too, which could be also potentially nice. In addition to that, since it attacks the copy, it bypasses things like taunt. So let's say you have a board of minions, like let's say you're playing, the only priest right now, which is a Remy priest, and you have these minions on the board, but then the guy, he has a big taunt, right, sitting in your face, and you don't want to spend all your attacks going to the taunt. You know what? Play this and kill the taunt minion. Is that good enough, that one situation, to run this in a deck? Probably not. To be honest with you. But I don't know. This has potential. It does have potential failed cases too, though, right? Like if the minion is, a 4 like 12. This doesn't really do anything. Now, it does still give you the minion too, right? So at the very least, it's 3 mana. Get a copy of a minion that attacks another minion. So it will always have some sort of value, which is not that bad. I think this is actually a pretty decent card overall. I do think that eventually a deck will see this as a card that they want to run, and they will run it, and it'll be a nice tech option to have, especially because you can get extra value with this pretty easily. Delayed product. Jesus, that unicorn is not having a good time. Anyway, discover and summon a minion that costs 8 or more. It goes dormant for 2 turns. So when I first read this, I thought it was from your deck. Discover a minion from your deck that goes dormant for 2 turns. If that was the case, I thought this might see play. However, it's any minion that costs 8 or more. There are a lot of minions that cost 8 or more, even in standard. In wild, they're insane amount. In wild, this is unplayable, right? Too much RNG. First of all, a minion going dormant when it's undormanted, it doesn't do anything unless it has rush or charge. And in those cases, you're really, really sad. So not only do you have to hope you get a good minion from you discover, you really, really have to hope it does something like right away, like have taunt, have like a rush or something like that, right? Otherwise, you are big sad, right? This is, I think, big unplayable. And finally, we have Puppet Theater. It's a location, 4 mana, 2 durability. Choose an enemy minion, get a 1 copy of it that costs 1, so a miniaturized version of a minion your opponent controls. So, you probably want to have this on high value minions, or minions with battle cries, death rattles, or strong effects like Titans. Now, it's important to note that Priest is not an excavate class, and a lot of, well, a lot, like 2 of the main battlecry minions right now that are being played, the Kobold Miner and the Rush minion. I don't know what it's called, the 5 mana one. Those see a lot of play. And in an excavate class, right, getting like a copy of that to push your excavate to legendary faster, maybe get a second legendary up, can be okay in like more controlling like decks that can afford to run this. Because Priest is not an excavate class, it does lose out on that a little bit. So that is kind of a downside to having this in the Priest class. In addition to that, this card is also pretty slow. 4 mana is a lot for a location, and they spend another mana to actually, summon the minion itself. So unless you are way ahead somehow on the board or in the game, you're probably not dropping this until much later into the game. Usually probably after your opponent has committed a big minion onto the board that you can use. Like do something like this. You can use this, copy, say, Sagaris, right? And summon the Sagaris, and then send all the other, minions to the Nether Realm or something like that, right? Or maybe you can copy Primus, and you absorb the other guy's Primus, and then the Death Knight will Yogg-Saron the Primus back, but that's just how it goes. And then later on, you can also get a copy of the Yogg-Saron, I guess. There's a lot of potential fun things that can be done with this. Of course, if you play this in 4 mana and you can afford to play the 4 mana, you're probably already winning that match anyway. So, yeah. Again, potential big mana cheat here. A 1/1 copy that costs 1. So, like, even like a 5 mana Titan, even a 1/1 copy, is a very strong card, right? Those are really good effects, and you get, again, 2 uses of this too. So 2 potential big effects that your opponent has to either really play around or just hope that they can kind of outlast this value. Again, also, there are not a lot of ways to really deal with locations besides Twisting Nether, which is not really run right now in any decks, and of course Reno. So this will stick around on the board probably if you play it. So definitely a card that you have to watch out for, in my opinion. So yeah, that's the first list of the mini set. I'm not sure we'll do these every time cards are released each day. We'll have to see, maybe every other day. The mini set comes out really soon, just next week on the 14th, so the cards are going to be revealed quickly. Anyway, I'm Neptune. It's been a good one. Never out.